What's up guys, and welcome back to WBC Builds, and welcome to this 1.16 Nether update building tips and tricks video, all to do with Victorian buildings. So you can see behind me, I have a load of Victorian buildings to show off today, and they've all got something to do with the new blocks that have been added. So if you were here looking for an actual video showcasing all the blocks, then please head on over to one I've already done, maybe 2 months ago now. They show you exactly what all the blocks are that have been added. So today we're going to go through some new blocks I think actually have a purpose within the Victorian building style. I'm going to show you guys how you can use them and give you some ideas on what you could do with them. So let's jump into this video. I'm going to show you the first block I have used. So my first block of choice is the Quartz Brick. This has been long awaited by anyone that builds in a Victorian style, mainly due to the fact you can now build what's known as rusticated bases without having to use stairs. So previously to this, using stairs was the only way to get this effect, but now we have Quartz Bricks. So let me show you this building to my left here. This is a Regency styled townhouse, and it has what's known again as a rusticated base. So you've got these large blocks of stone that would have been like a Portland stone, or would have been painted white with a stucco, and this just works perfectly well with this subtle brick motif we have now with the quartz. I mean, honestly, before this you would have to put stairs in there, and let me just show you, it would look awful. Like having it like this would just, it gives it maybe a bit more depth, but it just takes away what you're trying to achieve with this sort of effect. Now we have quartz bricks and I am in love with them. There is something so nice about the texture, it's subtle, the brick shape isn't the same as normal bricks you can see here. It's obviously a lot larger, it's more like stone, which is what we want it for. So anyone in the builder community that does build in Victorian style are singing the praises for this one, because it is a perfect addition to the game. So you can see over here on my right, we've got another example of how to use this rusticated base again. We've got these nice Venetian windows here on the base. I've been using these iron trapdoors a lot more, because you can use a debug stick in a normal game of creative in order to actually achieve what you want with these, so you can open and close them. I have a whole video on that if you want to go check that out, a little link up in the top corner there on how to use the debug stick in vanilla creative. Anyway, back to this build. It is just another gorgeous Georgian house, based mainly on ones in London. You've got this nice sandy brick, and then on the base you have the white quartz bricks, which just work. They work. There's nothing I can say against them. They are perfect. What I can say something against is my attempt to make a fence out of chains. Yes, this is one idea you could do. Not the best idea, I wouldn't go for it, but what I would do is use Blackstone as a sort of path up to a doorway. This works. It does add a little bit of sinisterness to it, but it breaks up the white and it breaks up the diorite quite nicely, so I think it works. I've also gone for the obligatory soul lanterns under here, hanging from chains, the correct way for chains to be, hanging from a ceiling, not protruding out of the ground. Anyway, let's move on to another use of quartz bricks. So another use for quartz bricks is coin stones in the edge of walls. So before you would have to use stairs, which really doesn't give you a very nice effect. I don't like it. Some people say it gives more depth to the wall. I just think it takes away what you're trying to achieve. With this Victorian style, it's all about straight lines and straight edges. You don't really want to remove any of those again. So that is mainly the best ways to be using this quartz brick. I imagine you guys have come up with some more, but now I think it's time to jump on to the other blocks that have been added, the Blackstone. So you can see to my left, the roof of this lovely Gothic Victorian house has been made from Blackstone polished bricks. And yes, the texture may be a little bit muddy, maybe a little bit fuzzy around the edges, but it works. It gives you this nice dark, deep, rich slate colour, which obviously we've been using stone brick slabs and stone bricks for, but they don't always work. This works so much better as contrasting against any light colours. You can see here I've used oak planks as the main wall, and then we have just normal bricks down the sides. But with this just works and makes it look like you expect to see a really nice Gothic building, especially in London or the surrounding areas. What's also quite a nice feature we'll get onto a bit more later on is the way that walls work now with windows, but I'll show you a few more ideas with that later on. What I want to show you right now though is something you can see over here in the distance, and this is another use for the Blackstone blocks. So walking on down here nice and slowly, you can see at the end of this avenue of trees a beautiful Second Empire American Victorian house. Now, when I did my first video on these new blocks 2 months ago when I came out in the snapshot, I instantly jumped on the idea of building a second Empire house, and I just had to do it again. But this time I've actually used not just the Blackstone blocks as the new ones, but I've also used the new woods. So this is warped planks, and I think it gives a perfect colour to these walls. So the image I used as a reference for this had blue shingles, and this works exactly the same as having blue shingles on the side. So I don't know what it is, but this Blackstone just works perfectly as a mansard roof, and I encourage all of you to try this style out, because I know there's loads of people that like to build in the Second Empire style of buildings. We over here call it American Victorian because it isn't technically Victorian. They didn't have a Victorian period in America at the time, so I urge people to use the term Second Empire just to describe this type of house because of the mansard roof on it. Anyway, I still think it's absolutely a perfect idea to build in this style, and you get so much detail out of it now. Because before you would just use a light grey sort of stone brick slabs or stone bricks, and they just wouldn't have the same effect that this Blackstone has now. It is perfect. So that is definitely another idea for what you can do with the new Blackstone, and I just think it is perfect. So let's jump on to what's happened now with walls, and I'll show you how to use those in relation to these builds. So let me quickly demonstrate another idea for using walls. So walls now connect with themselves vertically when you place other blocks alongside them to create an actual full wall. Before there would be holes and gaps in between, but now they sit like they would do as a window pane. And this gave me the perfect idea on how to use this. So, during the Georgian period, they had something known as the window tax. This was a tax placed on how many windows you had in a building, and people tended to brick up their walls if they had too many windows. So this is exactly what's happened here, and you can see now the way that this wall sits in here, just like it would do a window pane. Before, when doing this style, you would offset the brick one block back, but it would always be too far back. It would look too recessed. Now it sits perfectly fine, exactly as a window pane would. This actually is a very realistic detail, and it helps bring this Georgian building to life. You can also do it with obviously all the other types of walls. I've done it here with a sandstone variant. I think that looks quite nice. But yes, for a Georgian building like this, the walls work perfectly fine here. So getting back over to bays, and I showed you one earlier on, but here's another idea on how to use the bay windows. And now that obviously walls connect vertically with window panes, it just helps with breaking up those lines and filling in those gaps a bit more. We're back on this building for a second as well, because you may notice around the bottom I've used some polished basalt. Now I used that because I just wanted to get the block into the build somehow, but it works quite nicely as a sort of dry course, a running course around the bottom of the building. You tend to see this painted black anyway in this type of building, and it just works quite well. Another idea here is the Blackstone downpipe or drain pipe. You can see I've turned off a few of these edges, and that's using the debug stick in order to do that. So it's time to now jump on to another use of the new woods, and I think I've got some garish ideas for you guys. So you have to ask yourself a question. Is my street too boring? Want to be the talking point of the town? Want to have a building that actually represents you? Now you can with these neon coloured woods. Oh my god. Do you know what? It works. It somewhat works, but I don't know if I would ever put them in a town of mine. You possibly could see these on the seaside town somewhere in England, but for me, they are a little bit garish. But it does work. Like the actual blocks and the style and the details work quite nicely. You can use trapdoors here as the window edges if you wish to, for the Venetian window there, and yeah, it contrasts well against the quartz, and obviously you've got the warped wood as well, which helps with the contrasting. I don't know if I would ever use these because they do look so garish, but again, it's up to you guys. You can see here we've got on the side some quartz bricks again, just to help add a little bit of coining to the side. So let's jump onto a few smaller builds I've done just to show you guys what you can add to your towns to make them feel a bit more realistic. So first things first, I have actually built a nice railway bridge here using the Blackstone as a form of wrought iron. I wanted to make the whole thing out of Blackstone, but it just doesn't lend itself very well because the bricks don't blend together, so we went for just making the interior bit of this as Blackstone, but it works quite nicely there. So let's jump onto the smaller builds quickly, and I can show you guys some more ideas. So first things first, we have a lamppost design. Now this is a gas lamp, and you can see here, this is a really nice realistic touch. You've got the chain here, which the lighter of the lamp would pull to allow the gas to fill up inside, and then he would ignite it with a stick. But for us, we're just using an end rod here as the main light source, because you can't put anything inside the glass, which is a shame. So moving on here to another idea, you've got, again, a smaller design, but using lanterns instead of the glass. So I also went for another one with lanterns. Now, in my head, I thought this looked a bit better, but this is meant to be like a police station front. So in the Victorian times, you tend to have like a blue lamp to signify a police station. And that's kind of what I've done here. Let's move on quickly. So this is another idea for how to use the bricks and the new walls. Here you've just got a small little outcrop window in front of it, and you've got a small little recessed wall. So these are some ideas I've just thought up really quickly. You guys are probably going to get some more ideas. I would love to see what you can do. Send me some tweets, send me some Instagram posts. It'd be amazing to see what you guys get up to. So for interiors, I have actually done a few little designs. You can see here I've got a few floors on the go. Now this one was one I built originally in my showcase build, and it's using Blackstone, polished variant of it, with some polished diorite. I like the textures and I like how they're mixed together, but you can also do it with quartz, and you get this nice little lip on the actual quartz, and it works well with the polished Blackstone, and this gives you a nice checkerboard floor. What I've also done is used some chiseled Blackstone, and that gives you a nice little border around either a wooden floor, a parquet floor, or just any other floor you could think of. Again, it's up to you, but I think that looks quite nice, and it has that heavy feel that would work in a Victorian house. Suddenly I came up with another idea when I went, what, cost is an issue here in creative mode, so I went for some netherite. And yeah, it would be very expensive, this floor, but I think it works quite nicely. So moving on to a few wall designs, I've gone here for some very garish wallpaper, but do you know what, I think it could work. So we got the dido board at the bottom here, we've got the main filler of the wall, then you have your frieze and your cornice or coving up here. So I've taken the design for a wall from a book I have that describes Victorian interiors, so that's kind of what I've gone for here. And you've got the same here over on this side. I've gone for a bit of paneling along the bottom. This would be for a very large room, you can tell, because the wall's about 5-10 meters tall. And then again, we've got a similar variant here with the warped wood instead of the crimson. So that about brings us to the end of the ideas. Let's jump back over to the street and we'll say our goodbyes. So guys, there's quite a few ideas there for you to take away from this video. I hope you can implement them into your own builds. And I do hope you guys come up with some more ideas for yourself, especially with these new blocks we have in the game now. Feel free to share with me in Instagram, Twitter, or even come into our Discord and share your builds there. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed having a little look around these builds with me. I've had some fun building them. So guys, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.